Okay, so hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Phylicia Joseph and welcome to the GOHSBSU podcast. I'm here with Mrs. Sharf in room 302. She is the English teacher, right?
Yes.
Okay, so she is the Black Student Union advisor. I'm an officer for the Black Student Union and I'm hosting my very first podcast here live. And I'm very excited to be with you here today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. This is the first podcast and I have to say I'm really excited about what we're doing here. It's January 7th. Happy New Year, everyone. It's 2020, and I hope everyone's doing really great. So we're going to talk a little bit about the podcast, what it's all about. We're going to talk with Mrs. Sharf about, her humble backgrounds, where she came from, and we're also going to just kind of glaze over our purpose for Black Student Union. And then we're going to have our guest speaker, Mrs. Christine Laster, who's going to also talk about her backgrounds, and she's going to talk about what she does for the NAACP. She is a Education Chairwoman, and so she's going to talk about how she's going to help youth and the young adults that are going around here on campus for you guys today. So, Mrs. Sharf, tell us, how did you get into Black Student Union?
Well, I've always cared about equity and equality and social justice. It's just the way I was raised. I really think it's part of my DNA. And so when Black Student Union formed here a few years ago, we do not have many African American teachers on campus. So representation matters. So hopefully we're going to work on that. But I was asked to co-advise with Mr. Weig, who helped start it, and he's no longer here. And so then I took over the advisory role, and it's been my pleasure to work and serve alongside the students in Black Student Union who are trying to make a difference on this campus and just bring awareness and make a more inclusive and accepting campus.
That's good. And there you have it, folks. This podcast is going to be informational, and everything that Mrs. Sharf just said, I'm not going to regurgitate it, but that's what we're trying to achieve here at Great Oak. We want to help the community, and we want to help the kids here on campus. So whether you're a student here or you're a student at Temecula Valley or wherever you're at, anything that applies to you or think that you can share with us, just let us know at our email. We have GOHSBSU@gmail.com. I'll repeat it one more time, GOHSBSU@gmail.com. So we want to hear your guys' ideas. So a question I have for you, Mrs. Sharf, is how did it feel? Did you face any adversity with being the Black Student Union advisory? Did anyone kind of talk to you about
No.
how?
Luckily, no. I mean, I think that the students, I build relationships with my students, so that's worked out really, really well. I think that my reputation in being the right person to do this, I mean, obviously, if we had an African American or Black teacher who wanted to step into the advisory role, I would absolutely step aside or help in any way that I could, but we don't have that right now, and so I'm here to help and support, and the admin and staff here have been nothing but supportive, and fortunately the students have been really accepting about it and letting me really support you guys in the best ways that I can. And I also realize I have limitations in that because I don't know what it's like to be African American or Black.
True.
You know, I know what it's like to be a Latina and a female, but it's definitely not the same.
That's okay.
So.
Thank you for that, because I know me coming here from Temecula 2 years ago, my mom was like, oh, a Latina? Like no African American people running the Black Student Union. So definitely that does cock some eyebrows, but to see someone like you doing as much as you can for the students here at Great Oak, and helping out Mrs. Laster and helping out other teachers and even the students themselves with the forum, and other events that you have going on, that's really just impressive as a teacher.
Pleasure.
So thank you. We thank you from Black student officer to teacher. We thank you, and the students on campus do. Anything else you want to add for the forum, maybe? Because we have
I just want to talk about a couple events we have coming up. We have some opportunities to get involved. Murrieta is having a Martin Luther King Jr. parade on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, January 20th, and we would love to have a great turnout for that. We just march in the parade, wear our BSU shirts if you have one. Step Team will be joining us, I believe, and just show our support. It's a great event. We also, many BSUs from across the region come out, so it's like a little festival afterwards last time, and so we were able to walk around and get to know some of the businesses in the community and just sort of interact, and there was a barbecue. And then we also have a forum, Black Student Union Forum.
Yes.
We are imparting change that is
Imparting
coming
change,
up
okay.
on February 6th. That will be here
February
at
6th.
Great Oak, and lots more information will be coming out about that. But we're
Okay.
going to have guest speakers and activities where we can all just get to know each other a little bit better and get to know each other's stories and realize the impact that our words have on one another.
That's good. That sounds really thought-provoking. I'm kind of excited for what's going to be happening there.
too.
I'll definitely be there as the Black Student Union officer and just a supporting student for Great Oak High School. So if you want to just support the campus and support the clubs that are going on right now, I think it would be really cool, really important for you to kind of just share your support by coming to the Forum for Change, because we're always trying to get better, not worse. So thank you so much, Ms. Sharp. Anything else you want to add?
I think that's it. Thanks,
Okay.
Phylicia. Thank you for
so
doing
much.
this and all your passion for getting this started. I'm super excited to see where this goes and giving students and others in the community a forum to have their voices heard, because it matters.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much. All right.
Of course.
Have a good
Thank
day.
You.
Thank
too.
you.
Thanks, you guys.
Okay, so that was Mrs. Sharf right there, room 302 again, English teacher. She came in, she said her spiel, and now we're going to move on to Mrs. Christine Laster. So she's going to tell us about who she is, where she came from, what inspired her to do the work that she does today, and how she can help you and on campus, whether it's at GOHS or anywhere in the world. So take it away, Mrs. Christine Laster.
Hello. So
Hi.
I'm so glad to be here, and I'm excited about your upcoming podcast.
Thank you.
I shout out to BSU and all the supporters of BSU
Right? Yeah.
for being unrelenting and consistent, changing that narrative and getting that action out. You know, it's one thing to talk, but it's another thing to act. And so I am highly excited about what you guys are doing and very proud of you guys. My name is Christina Laster. I am the Education Chairwoman for Southwest Riverside County NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. I also sit on the Executive Committee of California Hawaii NAACP, where we work on my committee, which is underneath another chair, economic justice, right? I'm originally from San Diego, born and raised. I moved into Riverside County about 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And immediately upon moving into Riverside County, I noticed some differences. And when I was sorting through, just trying to get a feel for what was going on, I recognized that there were some discriminatory practices and equities that existed, and it was based on skin color. And so immediately, you know, my mind was, how can we bring forth change, right? Progress and change. Is one thing to say we have victory, but it's another thing to see, feel, and experience that victory. And so that's what I work on now, is bringing forth action that causes and creates change. My background is in political science. I have a bachelor's degree from the University of San Diego Institute of Peace and Justice.
That's impressive. Thank you.
And a master's in business administration. And so, but I did work 13 years in public education in San Diego.
Well, you know, San Diego thanks you for all of the
Right.
years you put in, right?
Right.
Exactly.
So now I do civil rights activism.
How is your civil rights knowledge? Are you just like completely knowledgeable about everything? Are you still working on it? How do you encourage others to kind of get their, you know, eyes in a book, in a long dawning book of civil rights and what they can do to keep themselves safe and stuff like that?
Based on being a Black woman in this space, and just different spaces that I've been in the education system, right? Just different challenges that I experienced growing up, being born Black, and living Black. That pretty much gave me a front row seat to experience some of the challenges that I now combat. So that was one way that I was able to understand intimately what was happening with inequities and discrimination. Then just having that political knowledge from school, right?
And even age, you know, I mean, you're a Black woman, I'm just a Black girl, I'm only 15 years old, and, you know, having you here talking about the experiences that you've been through, everything that you've learned so far, it's really humbling, because it's so easy to get angry and just to feel like outright, or even to kind of calm down and let things slide across, and to have you kind of be there like, hey, don't let people just walk over you.
Right.
Understand who you are and where you come from. and what you can do
so
about it.
So let's touch on that age thing, right? Basically, I don't want any of you that are fighting for progress and change to discount yourself because you're of your age. I will tell you that the majority of successful civil rights movements that brought forth awareness, right, has been with people your age, right? Just Black Lives Matter. We can think of a lot of different ways that it was the youth and the young adults who actually brought forth the message that, look, we are tired of being discriminated against based on our skin color, based on our hair, right? Based on little things that people don't even count or calculate as discrimination.
Right, it adds up. So
yeah.
It just
so
adds up.
yeah, know that you guys' voices are very powerful.
Well, we're hoping that, you know, what you're saying here today will inspire many Black students around the world to want to create their own movement or create their own group or form for change wherever you're at, not just here at Great Oak. And hopefully the students here can definitely come support you and come support us and ask you for any kind of help or thing that you need. So how can we contact you if we need you or want to talk to you?
I can be either emailed at ChristinaLaster@live.com. So let me just say that I spell Christina with a CH.
Yes. Yes, it might be a little hard to see that on the audio. But.
Yeah, and so a lot of people say, is that with an H? Yeah, it's with a CH because I see very crafty ways
Got
of
it,
spelling
CH.
And Laster@live.com. Also, you can contact me via telephone or text at 951-266-6911. Anytime, right? Parents can contact me. I'm here to support you students and the community however I can. The organization is there to support. So, you know, you can go look us up on Changes on the Rise.
Changes on the Rise.
Right.
Okay.
Changes on the
That
Rise.
sounds good. I like
that's
that.
the website. Or you can look me up on Twitter. That is Christina LAST3R because they ran out of E's.
Oh, okay. I see that.
On Twitter, and then that's Christina Laster.
Okay.
On
So
Facebook.
they can get in contact with you and everything.
There's several ways to contact
so that
me.
sounds good. In the NAACP, where you're working out right now, do you have any events coming up in your kind of establishment or business or anything that you're kind of looking forward to? I heard you were talking about going to New Orleans. Is that for a business thing?
Well, okay, so I am going to New Orleans with the National Parents Union, and that is a whole nother area that I support parents' rights to have quality public education, to remove the disparities, right? And then battle against what is coined the achievement gap, what I call is the access and opportunity gap.
Access and opportunity gap. Can you talk more about that? Explain that a little bit.
So basically, what we see in education is a way in which people have been systemically oppressed. I will give you an example.
Yes.
Here in the state of California, when I looked at the Black student data, it indicated that 67% of Black children across the entire state of California cannot read or write at grade level. 80% of Black children across the entire state of California cannot do math at grade level. And so when
they're just pushing these kids through the system, it sounds like. Yeah.
And what's furthermore is that there is a lack of cultural congruence and ethnically matched people on campuses, right? So what you see is there's a very small percentage of educators in the space that might have, we don't want to call it cultural competence.
Right, okay.
Because anybody can be deemed culturally competent, but what we're looking for is ethnically matched. Someone that looks like you.
Yes.
People that are in the education space that also are an administrative capacity. How many leaders do you see? Where I totally appreciate our custodians and security and things like that. We want to be able to see Black educators in a decision-making capacity that you guys can directly relate to. So that's part of one of the things that I noticed as far as systemic. And when I compared the California student data to the national data, I looked on a website. You can find the California student data, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
At CASP, which is the California Department of Education. They also have the dashboard, right, which shows who's being suspended most, who's absent most, different things like that. You have to disaggregate that data based on race. Now, when I took that and made a comparison nationally with NAACP, what it indicated was that the Black students have not progressed since 2000. Now you see something more systemic. It's not just an isolated incident. So that's basically what I do with the national work, is creating these conversations and action plans around
awareness, right?
Right.
Like, hey, are you aware that Black students are not even able to, like, they don't feel like they have someone to talk to because most of their staff is white or Mexican or Asian or whatever the case may be. Even as a student myself, I've lived in Rosamond, other places around in California, and even outside in Oklahoma, Colorado, and I've had a very short and kind of stubby experience with Black teachers, whether it's they're able to educate correctly and they know how to educate, and they have those like helping systems with them, or they don't, and they don't know what they're doing, and they're kind of just getting pushed in that system where they're just, hey, here's a worksheet, here's something to do, and it's really easy or it's really hard. And so you have kids who are failing, or you have kids who aren't failing. For me, I went to a Black school, predominantly Black school in Oklahoma, and I had a Black teacher, I can't remember his name, he taught English, and I had the hardest time in his class, and I felt like I didn't understand anything, and all of the Black kids in that class were kind of just struggling. And you see other kids, and they're Asian or they're white, and then all of a sudden these stereotypes come up, like, oh, white people can do read better than Black people, and all of a sudden you kind of see the kids in that class, including myself, who kind of didn't want to speak out or read in front of the class because we didn't know what we were talking about. And when we got back our grades, we felt even lower than we were because they were horrible, and it was just really bad. So I am glad that you're encouraging that awareness, but I definitely kind of understand like what you mean from a student level. Like, yeah, I don't see a lot of Black teachers on campus. Even now at Great Oak, I don't see a lot. I only see one, Mrs. Love, and you, another Black woman. Last year, freshman year, when I saw you come, I was like, wow, there is Black people that live in Temecula. Like, it's not just white Americans, you know, it's not closed off. So there's definitely people here. You just kind of have to look between the cracks.
We have to be comfortable with having these conversations because they're very vital and very pertinent, right? And when you look at the education platform, the educational environments, it's actually a matter of urgency. And so we have to be very comfortable coming out and saying, you know, look, this is an uncomfortable space for me, right? Nobody wants to show up to their job where they do work at and be in a hostile environment where they feel isolated, segregated, intimidated, outnumbered. Those are bad working conditions. This is your working space where you guys are getting education, right? Education is the method in which we gain knowledge. And if it's not culturally congruent, how are you actually gaining that knowledge? And basically, from what I've gathered from students is that they haven't. They've just been shutting down during the school day. And so that leaves you at a further deficit, right?
Exactly. It's just culture destroying, and you kind of like changing yourself when you come to school for 8 hours of the day, and then when you leave, you're like a whole nother person.
Right. And so what I look at is not the achievement gap, but how there's an access and opportunity gap that feeds into the racial wealth gap, right? How you're going to be able to have unhindered access when you are an adult and you're looking into different things, different avenues, different educational platforms or career platforms or whatever.
Yeah, and that might be important to just like African American seniors that are here or anywhere around the world who are kind of like, I don't know where to go. I don't feel like I have enough education, or my GPA is kind of low because I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, I find it really, I see tutoring opportunities everywhere, but I don't see the kids out there that need it, Black kids, white kids, whoever, I don't see them going to get it. Right. And it's just like, it's kind of confusing and thought-provoking, like, why aren't you going? Why aren't you going to get that help?
Well, you know, it's almost as if, like you said, you were in the space where you didn't even understand what was going on. And it was hard and difficult for you to be able to vocalize that, right? And so that's a place where you feel like your hope is gone. Like, you feel hopeless and helpless. And so no one wants to voluntarily enter into another
a
space.
hostile environment. Like, hey,
so,
can I get some help? Never mind. Okay.
So it's very difficult. And it needs to be marketed differently, so that people don't feel intimidated or just not adequate to enter into those spaces. You definitely want to reach the target population that you're looking for, but make them feel welcome. Let them know that they're welcome, that no question is a dumb question, and that's what I do.
And that goes out for teachers,
Right.
Just saying, like, just talk. Things that you say, you don't have to talk directly to anyone, but just kind of just saying out there, like, hey, any question you ask, definitely not dumb, and kind of just answering those like perceived dumb questions, and you might be helping out someone. And then even as a student, if you see another kid like in their papers completely blank, don't look away and shun them, but kind of be like, do you need help? Like, what's going on? Kind of putting that act of kindness out there is what really matters, instead of just turning a blind eye and then involuntarily just shutting out the black race or whatever race is just being shunned from that education that they really need. So that's really also really important. I wanted to talk to you about events that you might have experienced. I heard that you were strange man.
Just a week
Afro,
ago.
What? Like, we got to elaborate on that. I heard that
definitely
earlier today, and I was writing that down. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, let's talk about that. And so just a week ago, I was in the store, and I had my hair in an afro. Sometimes I switch up styles, And so I was walking, and I felt someone tap me on the back of my hair. And crazy. Immediately, I knew I'm by myself. So
you're like, someone, okay, am I in a hostile environment? Is this a kidnapping? Hold on, let me defend myself. Right?
Exactly. As a black woman, and you feel someone tap you on the hair, you're like, okay, what's going on here? So immediately I turned around, and there's this strange man. And so me as a woman, I'm thinking, what is going on here? You just came up and touched me, like, right? Hello. In a place that... And he's like, oh, you know what? I like your afro. Okay, I just had to go through layers of thought. Are you a kidnapper? Am I about to get sex trafficked?
Right.
Am
I in danger?
Am I in danger?
What is going on here?
Right. And I started really thinking, like, wow, I'm not a pet. Yeah. You don't just walk up and pat me on, and even when people are walking with their dogs in stores, they're given more respect because people ask if they can.
Oh, can I touch your dog?
Right.
Versus just reaching your hand out and touching someone else's hair. It's like the same thing, if not more. It should be like, hey, 5 feet away, can I touch your hair? Not like all in your bubble. Like, can I touch your hair with your hand sticking out? It's kind of just really rude and disrespectful.
So that thought provoked other thoughts in me. How many non-black people get their hair touched and tapped on every day, right?
Yeah.
Or get questions about their hair.
Yes.
Like, I just want to know, And if you're in school, and every class you go to, because you got a new hairdo, you got to explain, well, why do you have,
I know. Monday, you came to school with an afro. Tuesday, your hair is in a twist. Wednesday, all of a sudden, you got braids. And then on Friday, you got new track weave in, and everyone's looking at you like, is that your real hair?
Right. And those can be uncomfortable feelings. And, nobody else in that space has to explain why they have a different hairdo. I don't even know if people notice. And so I like to use, a lot of people don't like the word privilege, but the way that I explain it is that if you can wake up in the morning, go to sleep that night, and go throughout your whole day without ever having to worry about the color of your skin, you're privileged.
Yes, I agree.
And so people don't like to hear that word because it strikes a negative trigger connotation, but it is a privilege to make it a whole 24 hours with not once having to worry about the color of your skin.
Looking at your phone, seeing another black man or black woman shot.
Exactly.
There you go.
Right. So
example.
That's my definition.
Not even just African American, whether you're Asian. Yeah. Is something going on in your country, is something going on in your school.
Right.
And rarely do I see a white American come and say, I feel like I've been violated racially or because of my skin color. Like, so I feel offended.
Or your hair.
Or your hair. Yeah. That's
Right.
really a big one. Here in Great Oak, everyone is predominantly white, so the hair is just kind of either pinned up in a ponytail, combed out, curled maybe. And as a black person in ROTC, I have to put my hair in a bun every day. And so to put my hair in a bun, I don't have like white American hair, so I can't just flip it in a ponytail, spray some hairspray on it, and hope for the best. Like, I have to go through a whole routine where I'm combing my hair, washing my hair, gelling my hair, and then to come to school and have someone tell me like, oh, you changed your hair, why? Or like give me these looks, and I'm like, you don't understand what I go through. You don't understand what I'm doing.
You know, and it's really tragic, because why should you as children and as youth and young adults have to be treated differently for what genetically grows out of your body? We don't control our DNA.
No, we did
right?
not. We did not ask to be black. We didn't ask to have 4C hair.
Right.
I did not ask for curly, coiled hair that never
Right.
just lives out and easy to
And
manage.
so something so small, just changing the narrative. Like, I am not going to get discriminated against for my DNA, for something that genetically grows out of my body, right?
And out of that idea comes motivation and
Right.
being proud of what you're doing, being proud of your
Exactly.
hair. That's why we have these proud movements we have today. Like, hey, this is what we have, the Me Too movement. At first it was, we were ashamed to be sexually discriminated or touched or violated or anything of the sort, and now we're not necessarily proud, but we're acknowledging it, and we're not afraid. We have hair movements that we have where people are just walking out wearing their own natural hair. Now it's cool to be natural.
Right.
Back then it was like, oh, if your hair was natural, you had a nappy head, you didn't have enough money to do your hair, et cetera, or if you didn't perm your hair, you weren't like cool in the social setting, at least for me in my school.
Right.
So
do you feel comfortable? Do you feel like the students here are comfortable being their natural self?
definitely not. I
Okay,
think
so we still got a
it's a
long way to go,
50-50.
right?
We have a long way to go. Yes. I mean, there's definitely times where you feel like you're like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go out there.
Right.
I'm just going to be me, you know, hearing all of the positive feedback that you get from your phone or your social media kind of encourages you to go do that. I've come to school with my hair kind of just in an afro, and you just get these looks. You either get looks of approval or you get looks of disapproval. You're either gonna like it or you don't like it, or you just
Right.
get nothing, and it's silence, and it's like shunning, and no one notices your hair, and it's just like, okay, what to do now? Do I come to school tomorrow with a braid out and I just put it down? That's why you have so many kids on here with wigs on. I see students here with wigs on. They're like juniors and sophomores, and they have these fresh tracks in and these fresh wigs and so on, and lace and everything. And I'm just like, you have beautiful hair. And
Right.
But under their hair, they have like 3C hair, or they have 4C hair that they can just pick out.
Right. And so I want to encourage you guys today, because there's only one you, right? Nobody shares your same set of fingerprints. Nobody shares your exact DNA code, right?
Right, yeah.
Even your parents can have twins, and they're still not exactly the same. And so I say that for people to feel confident in knowing their identity and who they are, and not letting anyone else dictate that for them. If you have to be the only person, and I've often been this person in the civil rights arena, because there's not a lot of people in this space that's willing to continually get oppressed and fight back, right?
Yeah.
And so if you have to be the only person that stands for what's right, you stand and know with confidence, this is who I am, there's no one else like me, and there will ever be anyone like me, because I am me. Whether you accept that, that's your personal problem, and I don't manage other people's opinions about me.
That's true. I think
Right.
it just might be a little hard, only
It's
because
hard.
when you're faced with people of your own color,
Well, yeah.
versus like having, I had my hair, I think, in braids, and another black girl came up to me and was like, what are you doing? Why is your hair in braids? And it's puts you in a really uncomfortable position, because you would have been like, oh, like another black person. They understand me. They understand why my hair is this way or that way. And they're like, why aren't you gelling your hair down? Or why is this way? And why is your hair out?
So do you think that came from their own self-perception,
Yes.
self-image issues?
Yes.
So the best way that you basically move away from taking on those statements is by, that came from their lack of self-confidence in who they are, but it has nothing to do with who I identify as, right? has nothing to do with me. So that's just a word of encouragement. Definitely we could spend all day talking about hair.
I know, exact. Hair is such a big topic.
It is.
It went from civil rights movement to hair and to even, right, you were talking about the Crown Act, right? The hair in 2019, it can, just for those who don't know what the Crown Act is, I guess vaguely, it's basically a law saying that you cannot be discriminated against because of your hair, whether you're going in a job or something like that. So how do you feel about that?
So, I have a bittersweet thought about it. I'm very happy that was yet again another victory that people were able to vocalize that they have been discriminated against because of their hair styles and hair types. So yes, the Crown Act does cover, K through 12 education as well as the workforce, the workplace.
Yes.
Saying that you cannot be discriminated against, based on your hairstyle or hair type. But think about how many people that had dreadlocks and got turned away and things like that had to suffer for that to finally come to the forefront, right?
That's true.
So we see that suffering, and then we see that victory, and that's how civil rights is. So that's the bitter part of it.
Yeah. And, I would like to encourage our listeners that if you've had any personal experiences with workforces or with just high schools themselves, because even on the news, not every story is out there, but I've seen some of Black girls being discriminated against because their hair is some kind of way, whether it's permed, pressed, or long or weave or whatever they have. And even for my family, I've had my family members come to me and say, make sure your hair is presentable. Don't wear dreadlocks because they'll be intimidated against you. Don't wear your tattoos out because they'll be intimidated against you. And it's not just since last year, but years on, I've been told this since I was 5. I can't even say little girl because I'm only 15, but I keep getting this, banged into my brain, do not, make sure you are presentable. Make sure you are your best version of yourself, because you never want to put yourself in a light where the racist person or the challenged person believes that you're not good enough for whatever job or task you have to do.
Right. And me as an adult have had to navigate through that, basically trying to not manage other people's opinions about me. And that's something that you develop over time, and you guys are still in the stages of learning how to experience and then externalize some of these things. But my challenge is for educators, because I will say that the majority of the complaints that I received were from students that stated that their teacher, in fact, made a harsh racial joke about their hair. And when I went back to those teachers, I didn't know that was harsh, right? And so the students felt like they were just put on the spot. Like they came into class thinking, "Oh, my hair looks good." Yeah. And the teacher says, "What happened? What's going on with your hair?" Right?
Yeah.
So then they felt like that was a harsh racial joke, because now all eyes are on them. And they had to
you feel like the need to defend yourself, like, oh, this is this kind of hair, or this is that,
right?
And then even if you don't know, you're like, oh, my mom just kind of did my hair, or I kind of did my hair. And maybe you don't see people looking at you, but they're listening. People are listening around you. And so you sit down and you're like, okay, let's move on with the day. And there you just like you were talking about, 10 minutes before, they shut down.
Oh yeah,
because of that.
And you lose a whole day of education, right?
Exactly.
So teachers have to be very intentional, to be mindful about things that they say, and who are they saying it to, and how they are, perpetuating these ideas.
I think it requires a thought-changing process, like you were talking about earlier today, from the teachers, educators, and students themselves, and people just in the general public and our community in Temecula. Maybe if we change our thought process by coming to parades like the MLK parade that Mr. Sharf was talking about, or coming to the Forum for Change, maybe we can gain an understanding on both sides of the part. We can talk about issues every day, as you as a Black woman, me as a Black student. We can talk about why we're not happy, what's going on. And hopefully this is an insight to you if you are a white American, or if you are a Black American and you've been, guilty of doing this to another person of any color. You can kind of learn how you are affecting people, how you might be affecting people, what emotions you're causing, and if you are taking part in destroying a person's education, because knowledge is life, right? So,
right. And the method that you guys have to receive that is by receiving a public education, right? I mean, unless people choose something else, that's their prerogative.
Exactly.
But when you're in the space, I want to say one thing. This, since we're going into MLK's birthday, I want to just admonish people with the statement that he said. And for a long time, it haunted me. He said, if you thingify a person, basically count them as a thing. It doesn't matter how you treat them. So at the basis of what you guys are requesting in BSU is human dignity and respect. Right?
Yes, on campus, correct.
And in the community
Awareness.
too,
And
right?
Yes, in the community, that's correct.
Right.
Yes.
But definitely on campus. And sometimes, that comes from you shifting the narrative. And that's why I talk to you guys about being the ecosystem changers, right?
Being disruptive, right? Yeah.
Changing the culture and the climate of the way that things operate. And so I definitely, want to be supportive and here for you guys. The organization is definitely open to you guys, and whatever you guys have as far as questions, concerns, comments, you can definitely reach out to me.
Okay, so thank you so much. We have so much there could be so much to talk about, honestly, guys. But definitely next on January 21st there'll be another podcast, and hopefully you can come out, or maybe the next Tuesday or something, because it's really just good hearing what you have to say. You can put it in such a light where both parties can understand. That way people don't feel offended and they feel like they can listen.
Right.
It's easier to listen to someone speaking with a calm voice versus someone yelling and screaming at you.
Right.
Did you scream at that man when he touched your hair, or how did you respond? I mean, you said you were thinking, like, in a span of 10 seconds, you had like 5 seconds to respond. So
I basically just turned around. I was trying to understand and see through his eyes, like, what could he have possibly been thinking? To walk up to a woman that's by herself and pat her on the head. So I was just very tactful and mindful that he actually didn't realize that what he was doing was not appropriate. But let me go ahead and school him on not doing this. Because how would another woman, perceive his actions, right? So I also, if, when I come back, I'm willing to take questions. So if people have questions they can send you.
Exactly. Thank you.
Then I definitely would love to answer student questions.
If you have any questions, any listeners, students on campus, anywhere, you can email the GOHSBSU podcast crew at GOHSBSU@gmail.com. I'll repeat one more time, GOHSBSU@gmail.com. I repeated that earlier, but just in case you guys might have forgotten.
GOHS official. I'm sorry, guys. I messed up. At that time, I thought Google would allow me to basically call it GOHSBSU, but they're saying that the name has been taken. So we are now GOHSBSU official, all in caps, @gmail.com.
You can definitely reach out with any questions or stories or news, things like that, and we'll check them out and see how it pans, and we'll definitely talk about it. So I wanted to bring up two more things, and then I have a couple announcements. We're still trying to figure out on a name for the podcast. So we're trying to figure out, our actual name, and we know that this podcast is hosted by the GOHSBSU, but we're still we need that, flat out kind of distinctive name, right? It has to be catchy. It has to be full of life, catch people's opinions. So for anyone who's listening out there, if you have any catchy phrases for our podcast, we would love to hear them from you. Just email us at that email that I said earlier, and we would like to listen to it. So far we came up with like 2. Okay. They're kind of cheesy, but we're going to talk about them. We have What's New, Great Oak. It kind of basically, we're also talking about the issues along with topics and things that we've seen on the news. And then we also have Stay Woke.
Stay woke.
That it's coming back. There was a short period of time where everybody was just like, are you woke? Right. Are you woke? Are you up to date on everything that's going on right now? So I felt like
there's definitely levels of wokeness, right?
Exactly.
So we gotta
exactly. How woke are you, right? Exactly. And since it's like Great Oak, we were kind of trying to spell it with like WOAK for you guys that are listening out there. But if you guys have anything better, or things that might give it a little bit of flair or something, we would definitely like to hear from you. Banners, design ideas, we're here to listen and incorporate that into the podcast. We want to talk about what you guys want to hear, because it's not always about us, it's about you. That's what it's for. Students on campus, people in the community, anywhere. This is
Parents,
what it's about.
definitely.
Parents, yes.
That
Adult,
parent
doesn't matter.
Huge.
So let me get into my announcements. We have a parade going on. I'll be talking more about that on January 21st, the next podcast when it's going to be airing. It's on January 23rd. There will be 23 students from the GOHS SEP team from Great Oak High School. And we're trying to get 20 members of the Black Student Union, or 20 members that are interested in going on this trip to this parade. And it will be at 9 a.m. And it's going to end at 12. So we'll be back by 4 o'clock, but it starts at 9 a.m. And, I'm sorry, I said January 23rd. It's January 19th. My bad. January 19th is when it'll be starting. And then we also have the Black Forum for Change, which is on February 6th. And there's going to be a step routine, a little talking about more about what Mrs. Sharf was talking about earlier. Next podcast, I'll also be with Mrs. Howard, and she'll be talking about a step showcase on January 25th about sororities and fraternities coming, and they'll be stepping, and it'll be clapping and banging and all that good stuff,
exciting.
Right? Like, it's everything you need to listen to. It's $7 for anyone who wants to come.
And it's worth it. I was there last time.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Was it good?
That was exciting. And I was just watching everybody getting their, steps in their groove.
Exactly.
And, I brought people, and they're like, wow, really? Like, yeah.
So come on out. Come on out. Let's see what else. Oh, it starts at 5 p.m. and it ends at 8 p.m. So come out, take an evening.
Yeah.
See some people step, clap, maybe even learn something yourself. I know me, I'd be doing something at home, a little bit of something.
I actually left thinking I was a dancer, right?
Oh, right? You're like, I know what to do now. I can do it. I can clap my hands and keep them straight. That's easy.
Family friendly,
exactly.
too. It's worth the whole $7.
Exactly. So I'll be having a polling app for anyone who's interested that is listening to this podcast. So if you want to email me personally, like, hey, I want to give my opinion. If you want to be a part of the opinion kind of thing, like what topics you want to talk about, I'll definitely be sending that out once I get more information and get that set up. So next podcast, I'll have a polling app that I'll send out to you, and you guys can sign up and show us what you guys want to talk about. Kind of like an Instagram thing, how you can click
and
on.
I'll answer all the questions I can.
Exactly. So hopefully we'll have more guests, and we'll have more students next time, because it's always important to hear about the students' narrative versus a Black woman. So it's good to see.
And you know what? Any guest suggestions that the NAACP can add to the table? If you guys have certain types of guests that you want to hear from, you might want to hear from a pediatrician. I don't know. Maybe
you guys want to hear from a doctor's point of view,
right?
Exactly.
Definitely, would like to have that email to you guys too, so we can make it more connected to what you guys want. So
exactly. So thank you so much. This is the first episode of the podcast. It's finally here.
Yay.
It's been a work in progress of an idea, and now it's finally coming to light. So thank you, Mr. Huff, for allowing me to record in your studio. Thank you, Great Oak, and thank you, students. And we'll tune in next time, and we'll talk to you guys later. So bye. That's a wrap, folks.